Welcome to the Andy Staples Show. It is a big day here at the show. Ari Wasserman, we have our first presenting sponsor. And in honor of our first presenting sponsor, which is SLING TV, we're going to do a little college football trivia. Because if you have SLING TV and you have all the great channels that they offer with no contract at a super low price starting at $35 a month, you would know the answers to these. So,
well, anybody who listens to Stars Matter knows how good I am at trivia. So,
well, listen, they gave me a sample script with some trivia questions that I thought were a little too deeply historic for you. I'm going to ask something a little more recent. And I actually think that the questions they gave me would have been too easy for the audience. So we're going to go with a couple of questions where if you had SLING TV last year and were watching all of the great channels that have all of the games, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN3, SEC Network, ACC Network, Fox, Big Ten Network. Heck, I watched the Pac-12 Media Days on Pac-12 Network on SLING TV. So if you had all this, you would definitely know the answers to these. So
I'm excited to get humiliated right off the bat, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah, it's going to be great for me.
We appreciate SLING TV for letting me humiliate you.
Yeah,
so,
well, that's when you know you got a good sponsor.
Exactly. So question number one. Who is the returning leader in the FBS in tackles for loss?
Will Anderson.
There you go. Easy one. Alabama's Will Anderson.
Okay.
Here's a trickier one. I like my more efficient stats rather than just total stats. I'm a big fan of the efficiency, and this is a quick and dirty efficiency stat. Who is the returning leader in the FBS in passing yards per attempt?
CJ Stroud.
He is number 2. I knew you were going to guess the number 2 guy. Ohio State, CJ Stroud, number 2. He, I believe, was 11.7 yards per attempt last year. Fantastic season. But Coastal Carolina's Grayson McCall.
Yeah, I mean,
12.8 yards.
And if I would have had
attempt.
SLING TV, I would have been able to watch more of his games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You would have been watching that Fun Belt, and you would have known the answer. So thank you so much to SLING TV for coming on. I cannot wait to watch everything you have to offer, because that means we're watching college football. But we just appreciate you for thinking of us and letting us spread the gospel. So,
and honest to God, Andy, the only reason why anybody pays for streaming service that listens to this show is for college football. And if SLING TV is the best place to get it all, then they're in the right spot. So, because I have a worse TV provider that I stream with that has a lot of black holes with channels, so I'm switching because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of not being able to watch certain games that I want to watch, and there's nothing more aggravating when you're trying to find something, or when you're on Twitter and everybody is just like, everybody check out this game, and like you're trying to find it and you can't find it.
Where is it?
Yeah, where is it? Oh,
well, I will tell you, the SLING app is awesome. It's very intuitive. It learns you very quickly. I've got it on my TVs. I've got it on my tablet. I've got it on my phone now, and it is fantastic. You can go to your DVR from any of those spots. There's a 50-hour DVR storage. So you go to sling.com for special offers. So when you decide to make that switch, when you press the button, go to sling.com, get the best offer. It starts at $35 a month. SLING TV, thank you so much. Welcome aboard. Woo! Big day. All right, Ari. We got to talk about commitment. Commitment is the theme of this episode.
Oh, boy. You're going to hit me right off the bat with this?
Well, in a couple of different ways, because you wrote a great column off of something that Brent Venables said.
Oh, so you're the one who liked it.
Oh, I did.
You're the only one.
I thought it was very interesting. Now, I don't necessarily agree with you.
Good. That's the point of the show then.
But I do think this is a really interesting topic, especially as the world changes. And you're watching Brent Venables go from an environment where they had created a pretty special deal at Clemson with regard to how they recruited, what the offer was worth, what it meant versus other schools that recruit in a similar vein. And he's trying to do that at Oklahoma, you can tell. But it may be that Dabo Swinney had created something special there at Clemson that may not be able to be replicated. And Dabo Swinney may not be able to keep doing it as the world continues to change. But Brent Venables is going to try. So let's start with what he said. This was at a press conference at Oklahoma. And it got a lot of traction on social media. It was getting bounced around, and I think a lot of people felt the same way you did.
And I have no idea how I missed this when it happened.
But I know this, there's a lot of flaws in taking a commitment, making a reservation, and then going to go doing your thing. How can I manage a roster or who else I need to offer if I got 9 guys committed, but they're going to Bama and Georgia and LSU and A&M? How can I manage? How can I take commitments? I don't know what my numbers are. I don't want a guy to commit. Do not commit. Like, hey, coach, I'm ready to commit. Hey, buddy, here's what commitment looks like now. Okay, I want to make sure that you know that you know that you know that you know that you know. So I say, will you marry me? You say yes, and we get married. Okay, and then we start off on the right foot. Not like I dated 4 or 5 women, and all of a sudden we feel in some kind of way. You know, is somebody going to actually show up on November 30th?
I feel like we should have some other like college football Bachelor fans in here. You're like you're a Bachelor watcher. I'm not. Mm-hmm. The rest of our staff is Chris Vanini, Nicole Auerbach.
It's recruiting, but dating. It's the same thing. Yeah.
It's now the analogies to dating and marriage with recruiting, very creepy. Always. They're also the most obvious parallels. But Brent Venables, when in this clip, is talking about the way they did it at Clemson, basically, which was if you commit, you are committed to Clemson. If you take a visit somewhere else, you need to decommit, and maybe we'll recruit you later, and maybe we won't. Corey Foreman was an example of that. He wound up signing with USC. But I thought the Brent Venables don't commit piece of that was very interesting because I think that's a very honest way of approaching it. Don't commit if you're not ready to commit. Do go look around. The offer will still be here. But then if you commit and then you change your mind, it's a little bit different situation. But you wrote in your column that this seems incompatible with the world of recruiting as it is right now.
It's great, like on the surface. You know, and I wrote this line in the story, and I think people got upset, but it's just like a beauty pageant queen saying during her pageant that I want world peace is a wonderful thing to say out loud, and everybody can envision how great that would be, but the world gets in the way. So it's just like, don't commit, right, Andy? Mm-hmm. You think everybody who goes through that process hears what Venables is saying, commits to Oklahoma, everyone's just going to shut it down? Or do you think maybe somebody might decide or change their mind or get an offer they didn't get or have a parent say something or an NIL deal come in and it's going to make them want to renege on that commitment the way that they intend it to be? And if you have a steadfast policy in place to make a person who takes other visits feel like they're no longer committed, whether or not you think that that's noble or not, I think that's a problematic situation when you are dealing with competing against those schools that he listed in his quote. So is what he's saying wrong? Is what he's saying not ideal? Or do I think he's an idiot for thinking that? Of course not. My only point was, and maybe I communicated it poorly, is that it's not a tenable situation when you're recruiting against Alabama because you can't just say don't commit unless you're ready to shut it down. Because when Corey Foreman wanted to visit other places after his Clemson commit, all Clemson did was like, okay, well, then you're not committed. We're going to recruit your position. He decommits. And then guess what happened? 6 months later or 4 months later, towards National Signing Day, Clemson was all up in his junk trying to get him to sign. So it's a fake. It's just verbal semantics. It's all it is. And my point of it is why have a rule? What's the point?
Because you're trying to make it special. And I've had this argument with people at teams. Like, I was talking to somebody at an SEC school last year, and I was like, this is one of the better ones that can compete for national titles. And I was like, why do you guys do the photo shoots in the uniform? Why don't you be the one school that says you can't wear this uniform unless you come here? It is an honor to put this uniform on, and you hadn't earned it yet. Be the one school that does that, and all of a sudden you make it cool that you don't do those photo shoots. And the person's like, no, we can't do that. Everybody does a photo shoot.
Yeah, no, that's also like, it's like again, great idea in application. It's different.
But this was a school that could actually pull that off. And I think that's the thing with Venables and with Oklahoma.
But Oklahoma could pull off anything. Like I think you can make the case that Oklahoma's brand is already better than Clemson's.
It's very strong. It's very strong. But it is not as strong as Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State. And that's the kind of player you want to recruit. So you do have to do a little bit of what they do. You've got to win on the field and prove how special you really are before you can say you can't take another visit, all that, before that's going to really work, before that's going to work on somebody who also is desired by Alabama and Ohio State and Georgia.
And I guess if I made a mistake on the column, it might have been taking the marriage analogy too literal. But if you use an analogy, then I'm going to use the analogy too. And the analogy with marriage was, I make a commitment to you, you make a commitment to me, and we are married at the end, right? He said that. So he was hosting committed players to other schools on his campus. Now I understand everybody is explaining to me like I don't get it, but I will explain it to you so you know that I get the very rudimentary understanding of it. That if a player who is committed to another program wants to visit to Oklahoma, then he views them as uncommitted the same way he would with his own player, right?
You can cheat with me, but you can't cheat on me.
But my viewpoint is that
don't cheat on me.
If you have a player on the team who is committed or in the class that is committed, who committed to you under the pretenses that, hey, I'm done. Commitment means what it means. I know. But then changes his mind at the end of the cycle or in the middle of the cycle, then how can you banish him? Or even if it's not banishing him or removing his scholarship, let's say it's even less severe than that. All we're going to do is continue to recruit your position, which, of course, is a power play on that player. All you're doing is alienating the player that's in your class. What's the point of that?
Perfectly fair thing, because maybe that player doesn't
really
want
to
be in your class.
But is it a good idea? It's not true. Players take visits to other schools all the time and sign with the team that they were committed to.
Of course they do.
So I think that
Malachi Nelson was in College Station this weekend.
So is USC going to be like, okay, well, you know what? You're out. We're actually, you can stay committed if you want, but you're not committed. We're going to recruit 9,000 other quarterbacks and then do anything to further make him want to leave? Like, why would you do that?
Here's my thing. It is a choice. It is a branding choice by Brent Venables.
It does two things, Andy. One, it might mitigate the risk of flipping or decommits or whatever down the line. I understand that, and I can acknowledge that. The other thing it does is that it increases the odds that you will lose a player you don't want to lose. And the thing that's so funny about it is like, well, you think that certain players get special treatment? Yes, I do. 5-star prospects who want to visit later on in the cycle are going to have an open door back into Oklahoma the same way that Corey Foreman did at Clemson. Yeah,
and that's
like Clemson is a genius program. Dabo Swinney is a genius. I cannot say it enough. And if they are still good in 5 years, the way that they have the previous 5 years and 10 years, I think there's no question at all that he is the second best coach in the modern era of football.
You know what it also does, though, Ari? On the backside?
What does it do?
It allows you to get guys out of your class that maybe you wanted to get out of your class, but you don't want to be viewed as someone who breaks.
But that's also a problem. Because if you do the marriage commitment thing, you're committed to me. I'm committed to you. No matter what, you don't visit other people. I don't shop for other people. But if you have this steadfast rule and there's somebody in your class that you took a commitment from too soon or didn't develop the right way or you would like to push out, if you push that person out who hasn't taken visits or hasn't flirted
you're going to look terrible. But what I'm saying is
you can't have it both ways.
What I'm saying is that gives you the out if that guy's like, hey, I might want to visit this school. Okay.
What if that guy doesn't?
Then you can take him.
Then you're going to take players in your class because you have a dumb rule that you don't need to have just to have them in your school so you look good? Like, all you're doing is binding yourself with binds that don't need to be there.
Was it a dumb rule at Clemson?
I think that there's a chance that Corey Foreman it worked really well because they were an amazingly good evaluating coaching staff that took players that weren't going to flip to Alabama.
Who works in Oklahoma now?
I understand that. And if you think that Oklahoma is going to be Clemson, which is the greatest outlier of the last 15 years in college football, and they're just going to duplicate it again because Brent Venables coached there, then that's your prerogative. We'll see how it goes down the line. My only point is, why put binds on your wrist when that's really what coaches do when they operate anyway? There's no rule at Alabama that a player can't visit somebody else, but if Nick Saban and his coaching staff, through communication, like you would with any relationship, realizes that they're slipping, then they can turn on the burners and find somebody else.
Alabama may toss that gray shirt at you right before signing day. That's also a possibility,
So let me ask you this, then, basically, because you're saying this is a branding thing.
Yeah.
Is the branding thing outweighing the negatives that come along with that branding thing in your mind? Because in my mind, it's not. That's why I wrote the column.
He just got there.
No, just a steadfast rule anywhere. It's not a Brent Venables discussion. It's not even an Oklahoma discussion. It's a rule discussion.
No. I think listen, special treatment for special players, special treatment for special programs. If you're really good on the field and you go to the playoff and you put players in the NFL, you can make whatever rule you want.
If Jackson Arnold wanted to visit Alabama this week,
not
that he would, they have 2 top 100 players at quarterback already, but I'm making an example.
Right.
Is Brent Venables going to treat Jackson Arnold the same way he would as the second lowest rated player in their class?
No,
right? Everybody can agree that's no. And if you're an
still
Oklahoma fan in my comments saying that he will, then get a reality check.
Well, no. He will cut him loose, but he will keep recruiting him. If the 24th player in their class decides to do that, he may not re-recruit him. That's just
But if you do something in this rule that makes the person that is visiting feel like they're no longer a part of your class, or feel like you're recruiting over them, or makes them feel even 1% worse about their positioning in your class than they did before, then you are going to lose a player like Jackson.
If they're that much of a fading little flower, then you don't really want them in the first place.
I mean, I guess that's like the nice thing to say.
That easily, like,
if I were a 5-star prospect and I was committed to a school and I said, hey, you know what? A few things came up. I still love you. I want to go see Bama and I want to see Clemson. I would hope that the coach that is recruiting me understands and trusts me enough that I'm just going to do my own thing for a minute, and we'll have that trust in me. I don't have
a problem with Brent Venables saying, I would still.
What does he say?
Class,
what is the response?
I will now recruit your position.
But what does he say to that person?
Spot. What does he say?
You're Brent Venables and I'm Jackson Arnold. Okay. Hey, coach. I know I've been committed to you for a year. I love Oklahoma. I want to be the face of this program, but a few people got in my ear a little bit and told me some things that I might want to check out at the other places. I'd like to go visit these schools just to make 1,000% sure that I still love the place I'm in. It's the biggest decision of my life, and I don't want to mess this up. Trust that I will come back to you, but please allow me to go take these visits. Like, what do you say to him?
Well, there's a chance that you may go to Alabama or Georgia, so I'm going to start recruiting other quarterbacks, and if the spot's still open after you make your decision and you think Oklahoma's the best place for you and we haven't filled the spot, then you are welcome to come and be our quarterback. But I have a very important job.
And if you make Jackson Arnold feel that way,
well,
and he leaves,
I'm not worried about how he feels. I'm worried about fielding a winning football team.
Yeah, okay. So then go get a 3-star instead of a 5-star at the quarterback position.
But I'm Oklahoma. I can get a 5-star. I can pull somebody great out of the portal.
You think that Oklahoma could just turn around and grab a 5-star quarterback in the next 2 months like it's nothing when they're all off the board right now?
Ari, there's this thing called the transfer portal.
Do you think that 5-star quarterbacks are going to be flying out of the transfer portal every year?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like if you think that like
Ari, I'm Oklahoma. I suddenly need a quarterback. Oh, well, I was going to go to UCLA, but guess what? Now I'm not.
Yeah, no, I know. I get it. Okay. So like, I just don't, my whole point of it is I don't think that the branding aspect of it outweighs the negatives that can arise from the rule. Like, why put yourself in a box you don't have to be in? Like, you don't think, because like the thing that you just said that Brent Venables would say to
I'll tell you
Jackson Arnold is the same thing that every other coach in America does.
There are players, and maybe Jackson Arnold is one of them, who appreciate that, who want that, who want to be done, who want to say, I love this school. This is where I'm going. That's where I want to be. It's going to appeal to a certain kind of person. And what Brent Venables is saying and what Dabo Swinney has said is that's the kind of person I want on my roster. So,
and what players, funny enough, tend to be the ones that aren't like that?
Not all 5-star recruits are like that.
Which ones tend to be like that the most?
No. I mean,
you don't think that more 5-star prospects have more volatile recruitments than 3-stars?
They have more options, but
and then
there's quite a few of them that just sort of pick a school and that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, then you're like shrinking your board then for the sake of the rule too. Then
that doesn't mean I don't have a spot open at the end and they don't decide they want to come. Like you're worrying too much about their feelings when they're not saying they don't want the guy. They're saying we still want you, but clearly, if you want to check out your options, we're going to check out our options. This is friends. This is Ross and Monica.
Is that not what everybody does without the rule too?
This is what Ross and Rachel. We were on a break.
But if you don't have that rule,
Ross and Monica were brother and sister. Sorry about that.
Yeah, is that friends? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to hear what I think about Friends.
I'm not a fan either, so don't worry.
I think it's not funny at all. Yeah.
it was a very, big cultural touchstone. So lots of our listeners
what does
get it.
every coach in America that has a quarterback committed that visits other places have to do?
Go look at other quarterbacks.
So, like, is that profound, that rule, or is it just a box?
It's the way he wants to run his program.
Yeah, I'm just.
May or may not
what did I
work.
write? What did I write? The whole point of that column was that right now this is an ideal way to look at recruiting in the hopes that this will work and will mitigate risk down the line of players flipping. Will be a good thing for them, and maybe that'll work out. But how he handles it when it doesn't go that way is going to be a critical thing for him, and I think that's a fair statement.
I think if you are at, I'm not trying to insult any programs here, but if you're at Indiana, you don't say that. But if you're at Oklahoma, you may be able to get away with it. Okay. Just saying. And
he's actually had the best class that Oklahoma's had in years right now. So, like, I don't think that he's a bad recruiter, and everybody in the Oklahoma, fan base who thinks I hate Brent Venables, then the response anytime anybody writes even something remotely critical about your team can't just be they hate us or they have a vendetta.
They're very
That's not the way
sensitive.
we work. And I know maybe we don't have a beat writer and they were just like foaming at the mouth no.
I'm talking about that. I'm talking about
after Lincoln Riley left.
Like,
yeah.
If we're using the marriage analogy, Dad went out for cigarettes and didn't come back.
Yeah. No, I know.
So they're a little hurt right now.
Daddy issues. You're saying that Oklahoma has daddy issues?
But stepdad's
a badass.
Stepdad may be a little. May wind up being the guy.
Let me just say, I think stepdad is a badass.
Yeah.
Who I just don't like one of his recruiting philosophies. Like, is the world going to end?
It's not. But hey,
why say it? Even our producer John Hayes
21 minutes, Ari. So it worked.
No, I know, but our producer John Hayes just popped in. He goes, "Why even say it?"
Because you're branding yourself. It's branding. It's like the Andy Staples Show presented by Sling. Brent Venables presented by Commitment.
Could you imagine if the head coach of Florida did it that way and they had to recruit the state of Florida?
Can't do it here. Can't do it.
No
Can't
shit.
do it in that environment. Can't do it. You could probably do it at Oklahoma. You can't do it in Florida or Miami or Florida State. You just can't.
I know, but you get to a certain threshold, and Oklahoma is in that threshold where you want to win a national championship. And when you start getting it, because like it's funny, Andy, the thing that nobody ever acknowledges, and I'm the only one who does, is that Clemson is a very good recruiting program. Mm-hmm. And Clemson is in battles with Ohio State and Alabama and wins them from time to time. But Clemson is not in that same recruiting world with those other teams right now.
No. Ohio
so like
State,
if Oklahoma
Alabama,
wants
Georgia
to
is pretty much it.
Yes. So if Oklahoma wants to operate in that world that Clemson has avoided yet still been very successful, my thought with Clemson has always been it was great to be the exception to the rule for the 3 years that you were, but I don't think that you could be the exception to the rule for 20 years. And if they can, then Dabo Swinney is levitating above the rest of us. But if I'm Oklahoma, I want to be in the Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama recruiting circles. And I just don't like, if you look at the greatest recruiting coaches and the greatest recruiting classes of the last 15 years, how many of them had this rule in place? I should have written that in the column. I just thought about that.
See, you should have workshopped it on the show first.
I'm not going to write a column unless you like argue with me about it. It's just like,
there we go.
The amount of anger,
make it bulletproof.
The amount of anger that came at me about it, though, I was like very shocked.
Everybody gets mad when you tell them their favorite coach did something that you didn't.
It's just my opinion. I don't think that it's the greatest.
That's just their opinion that you're an idiot.
Yeah, so that's fine. But but when I posted it, I was like, all right, I'm going to go get, Chipotle and enjoy my afternoon. I got to go to Target, maybe go to Home Depot. I don't know if I'll have enough time.
Personally, Ari.
I looked down at my phone. I'm like, holy shit. Like, what the hell? What went on here?
Have yourself a nice little Friday, eat your Chipotle, and don't worry
people
about it.
Threatening to cancel The Athletic. All right, you don't even do an announce it. Just do it. Like, come on.
Well, listen, the real ones know. They know you do it from a place of love. So don't worry about it.
And I think Oklahoma's great. I think they're going to be really good. Their class is awesome.
I think
Jackson Arnold might actually be the best quarterback in the class. I've got nothing but great things to say about Brent Venables. It's this one thing that I didn't agree with. Shoot me. Yeah.
Don't be so sensitive about it, Ari.
I know. I need to stop responding to people. I respond. Well, do you respond to your comments?
Sometimes.
I went ape shit yesterday.
Yeah, I'm bad about it. I need to do it less because sometimes I get mean. Because if you are mean to me, I will be mean back to you. If you are nice and respectful to me, I will be respectful to you. That's the general rule.
Respect or infuriating to me though, when I write a column and I spend time formulating a thought, and comments attack me for things I didn't write. That's my trigger.
You can't worry
or
about
they didn't
that.
understand it, or they didn't grasp it.
You cannot control the reading comprehension of everybody who reads it. It's not going to hit everybody the same way. So you can't.
And also, Mitch put the headline on the thing. Mitch put the headline on there,
mm-hmm.
So I'm going to blame it on him a little bit. That was a pretty spicy.
Mitch?
I think that was a spicy headline, and I didn't even write it.
We don't usually write the headlines. It's just not. That's how it works. The editor usually writes the headline. So
that's right, Mitch. It's on you, bro. But hey, thanks for giving me a chance to at least formulate my opinion on it. And there will be people like during the Ralph Russo show last week who agree with you, and some who might, if they're insane, agree with me. And that's sports, and that's why we do this. So thank you for giving me a segment on it, and I'm happy that I was able to articulate how I felt, and maybe people will go back and read the column and kind of receive it differently.
Well, I've got a way for you to burn off that energy when you get those tweets at you that are super mad, or those comments that are just boiling with rage. You ready?
Yes.
We need to get you. We're going to get you the Peloton app. I've been using the Peloton app since the pandemic. I got it in 2020, and it is, you guys who've watched have seen I've lost all this weight. Big reason behind that is the Peloton app and the Peloton program, because everybody, thinks of the bike. It's not just the bike and the treadmill, which are awesome, by the way, but it's this community of trainers, community of people. And so, like this morning, I did 3 Peloton runs. Now, I didn't do 3 1-hour runs. I did a 30-minute run and 2 20-minute runs. So ended up running about 8 miles total. The first run was Marcel Dinkins. She was dressed as Dora the Explorer. She's playing trap music interspersed with songs from Dora the Explorer. It sounds ridiculous, but it got you through those intervals laughing all the way. It was tremendous. And then Kirsten Ferguson came in with just an incredible playlist that included a song I had never heard before, that had Lotto on it. And it said, "Shake What Your Doctor Gave You." My wife works in plastic surgery. I played it for her. She's like, "Wow, that's the greatest song I ever heard." So I'm telling you, we need to get you this Peloton app, because you and I travel a ton for work.
Mm-hmm.
So Peloton turns any hotel gym, basically the most basic hotel gym, into a world-class fitness facility, because you can do the tread boot camps, like with Jess Sims. She does the Saturday 60, or the Adrian Williams Thunder 45. Like, these things will kick your butt, and you'll get in great shape, and you can see who's working out with you. If you're doing it on demand, you'll see there's a bunch of people doing it at the same time as you. If you're doing it live, you can interact with the instructor and everything. It's fantastic. So if you want, you go to onepeloton.com. You can look into all the options. You can get yourself a bike, get yourself a treadmill, or just sign up for the app. There's a lot of ways to do it, but they say it's motivation that moves you anytime, anywhere. The anytime, anywhere part of it is huge for me. So we got to get you doing Peloton, because when I'm talking about my favorite trainers, I need you to know who I'm talking about. Like, I need you to know who Marcel Dinkins is. I need you to know who Andy Spear is. I need you to know who Bex Gentry is. And she's the British lady who always tells you to double knot your trainers. So we gotta get you going there.
Yeah, that sounds great. I've thought about doing the bike.
Well, there you go. That's
I enjoyed spinning class before I broke my ankle.
Yeah. That won't happen there.
It won't happen at home. Yeah.
Exactly. That was the day I came. That was the day I came to your house for the first time. Well,
but my face, I think, is starting to slim up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And, if I add the Peloton into the mix, I think that I'll lose weight faster. Absolutely. And you and I will probably be going back and forth. You can follow me on the app. I'm just Andy Staples on the app. So anybody wants to follow me, go ahead. But onepeloton.com, and I'll be posting the workouts I'm doing. It's a blast. I'm telling you right now. One other thing I did want to talk to you about, Ari, because you are kind of you're in the perfect spot for it in your life. So you got a young kid at home. You're in toddler phase, or you're working your way into toddler, you're infant to toddler, basically. So you have just got her first teeth this week. Oh, good Lord. You have very little spare time. Your wife has very little spare time. Both of you have jobs. Probably not a ton of time to go to the grocery store. Probably not a ton of time to be cooking. Most of the podcasts you listen to, there's some service that's advertising, "Hey, we'll send you all the food, and you just chop it up and you put it in the pot, and then No, you don't have time for that. But you do have time for Freshly.
What you do with Freshly is you just go on the app and you say, okay, I want some steak peppercorn. I want some masterful mac and cheese. And they send it to you, chef prepared. You get it basically in an ice chest. You pop it in your fridge. And then when you want it, you heat it up 3 minutes or less. And then you got a really good meal right there, perfectly portioned, everything you need. And you didn't have to chop a single thing.
I'm the worst cook on the face of the planet.
Well, there you go. So this is what you need is Freshly. So you can get $125 off your first 5 orders if you go to freshly.com/Andy22. So that's freshly.com/Andy22. And we'll get you going on it, Ari. The ones that I've had were awesome. And we had to do gluten-free because my wife has celiac disease. So
my wife's gluten-free.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Well, they have an entire catalog of gluten-free that includes gluten-free pasta. Sometimes they replace it with cauliflower. They do a lot of different creative things. And the best part is you don't have to go to the grocery store and you don't have to pull out a single knife. So it's worth a shot. Freshly.com/Andy22, and you will get everything you need. $125 off your first 5 orders at freshly.com/Andy22. All right, Ari, back into our commitment issues show, because we talked about Brent Venables and commitment. Interesting comment from George Kliavkoff, the Pac-12 commissioner, on Friday, because he's getting tons of questions about the commitment of the members of the Pac-12 after USC and UCLA left. So he took one from our boss, Stuart Mandel, and his answer was very, very interesting.
George, at some of the media days before yours, the new Big 12 commissioner said they were open for business in terms of expansion. Kevin Warren at Big 10 this week saying, not ruling out future expansion. What gives you confidence that the 10 remaining schools are going to stay in this conference?
Yeah, we've had 2 board meetings a week for the last 4 weeks, and looking my colleagues in the eye and understanding their commitment, and that their first priority is making sure that the Pac-12 survives and thrives and grows and is successful. They're committed to the conference, and I think the best thing to do is to ask them about it. And with respect to the Big 12 being open for business, I appreciate that. We haven't decided if we're going shopping there yet or not.
Zing! Zing! But did you hear what he said?
I heard it. It's the only thing I heard.
Eyes?
Yeah, it's the only thing I heard. That was the punchline of the Alliance joke.
Well, funny that you mentioned that. Let's go back to when the Alliance formed last August.
You got the clip all fired up for us?
I got 2 clips from that Alliance press conference. Here's the first one.
Okay. We will take our next question from Dan Wolken.
Yeah, hey guys. I'm curious what kind of document has been signed or will be signed to formalize this alliance. How will it be legally enforceable? And will it include any language that prevents one league in this alliance from poaching members of another league?
We'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Kliavkoff for this.
There's no signed contract. There's an agreement among 3 gentlemen, and there is a commitment from 41 presidents and chancellors and 41 athletic directors to do what we say we're going to do. If there's any lack of specificity in the press release, it's because we want to make sure we could deliver 100% of what we promised. So we're aligned in how we want to approach this, but there's no contract, there's no signed document, and there doesn't need to be.
Okay. Our buddy Bruce Feldman followed up on that question. Let's go back down memory lane one more time, Ari.
Bruce.
Thank you. We will take our next question from Bruce Feldman.
Thanks, Amy. A question for you guys just from earlier about there being no signed document. I mean, Jim, you just talked about stabilizing a volatile environment. I mean, what do you say to people who listen to that and think, you know, I mean, I've talked to some Big 12 ADs who felt like the Big 12 was as stable as it's been for the last decade. To have no signed document, you have 41 different schools. Obviously, there are some that are going to seem to have more leverage than others, who would, you know, to think that there is no signed document, that this alliance isn't very binding at all. How do you I guess, how do you ensure people feel like this is actually has some strength where you don't think somebody's going to pull an end run or do something outside the alliance to better their own specific situation?
I'd say this, Bruce, it's about trust. It's about, we've looked each other in the eye. We've made an agreement. We have great confidence and faith. Our board chairs have looked each other in the eye and have committed to the same level of support and connection to one another. Our athletics directors have done that. And so if that's what it takes to get something considerable done, then, you know, we've lost our way. Of course, binding contracts serve a purpose, but at this juncture, that to us wasn't a critical element of it. And we'll certainly see where all this goes. But I know what we discussed. We all know what we discussed, and we're very confident about executing on all that's been described today.
So Jim Phillips, the guy with the bindingest of all binding contracts in the ACC, and he's probably saying, thank God for that right now, thinks you don't need a binding contract. And George Kliavkoff thinks you don't need a binding contract. Like, how did George Kliavkoff months later go, I looked them in the eye? Like, don't say that.
Who didn't speak?
Kevin Warren. Now, Kevin Warren did follow up on the Kliavkoff answer.
But did you see his face during it? It was just like,
oh, yeah.
These
like,
guys are mine.
These suckers, I got them now. They got them right where I want them.
Yeah, that's hilarious, man. You know, I don't know. This is, would you say, the most volatile time in college football history?
Yes. And
overall, with everything.
The level of mistrust is off the charts. And that's why, like, I don't want to hear you say you've looked them in the eye. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me. Here's what is going on now. For those who don't know, like, here's what's going on now with the Pac-10, I guess. What is that? What we're calling it again? Them and the Big 12. The Pac-12 members, the remaining ones, are looking at the deal and going, okay, there's not really anybody that we can take from the Big 12 that's going to get us more money than if we just stay together. If we stay together and split the money, probably 10 ways, kind of like the Big 12 did when they had 10 members, then everything's probably okay. But the Big 12, which, by the way, has been playing defense for pretty much all of realignment for the last 12 years, now playing offense. New commissioner Brett Yormark, they're going straight at those Pac-12 schools and saying, well, you know, Oregon and Washington don't really want to be there. They're not going to do a long-term deal with you. There's no way. You can't trust them. And so you sow that mistrust. And like, to the outside, like, casual person, it is two Spider-Men pointing at one another. I had a reader ask me the other day, what's the difference between, let's say, the Pac-12 took like Oklahoma State, Baylor, TCU, and Texas Tech, or the Big 12 took Oregon, Washington, Utah, Colorado, whatever, you know, some combination of that. Nothing, really, to us as a casual viewer. But if you are an Oregon State, Washington State, Kansas State, Iowa State fan, you have a very vested interest in which one of those wins.
If you are a Power 5 program right now, the worst case scenario is being left out in the middle of no man's land.
Yeah.
So if you look somebody in the eye, or you feel like you're in a very good spot and you trust everybody, do you go to bed at night hugging your pillow thinking about that trust? Or if somebody approaches you with a deal that ensures that you'll never be in no man's land, do you protect yourself and go to the place that you know protects you from no man's land? And if you asked all the teams in the Pac-12, you might have a few that say, well, we like where we're at.
Yeah.
But would you bet even $1 that all 10 think that?
That's it. And that is the crux of this. If even one of them breaks rank, it all falls apart. And that's what Kliavkoff has to defend
resentment
against.
Builds because there's bigger brands than other brands. There's other more desirable brands that say, hey, we could do this or that, but we're not. How do we get compensated for that? It's the same human nature mentality that exists in every, walk of life. That's why communism doesn't work, right?
Right. Right, because somebody's always going to
be working harder or be worth more. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so the flip side of that is the Big 12 is stable because it's not going to get rated by the SEC or the Big 10 or the ACC or whatever. And so that in and of itself is an issue because you want somebody who's considered valuable because that's how the TV money gets bigger. So this is the problem. This is where they're at. So you've got one side selling stability and the other side selling, well, maybe we can have a decent amount of money and we just all stay together. And we don't have to have any sort of strange shotgun marriage arrangement.
Yeah. And does decent money hold up with better money?
Well, it does. No, better money's always going to win. But I don't know what better money is at this point.
Well, if it presents itself,
we'll
see how much that long gaze into the retina really matters at that point.
Yeah, but that's the issue here, and you have these different factions, and like the Big 12 fans are saying, well, how everybody's against us, and everybody's saying we're worthless, and no, that's not what we're saying. You have one very strategic advantage in that you are stable and no one's leaving. Like that is a powerful thing. If like, for example, all those 41 university presidents looked each other in the eye. Ari, I don't think they did.
Do you think that all of them looked at each other in the eye?
It was COVID. I don't think they did it on Zoom.
No,
like,
I know.
Can you imagine all those little Zoom boxes? Like,
but do you think that Washington State looked Indiana in the eye?
I don't think so.
Like, I mean, there's got to be some that didn't look somebody else in the eye. That's a lot of calls. That would take a while. How many different combination of eye lookings is there with 41 different institutions?
It's a lot of eye looking, but that's your problem. And I don't know if you just went through that, how scarred are you from that? If you are a school that is left in the Pac-10, how scarred are you from you looked UCLA and USC in the eye and they're like, peace out.
It just, when I heard him say that, Andy, I was just like, God.
I was like,
did you learn nothing?
Yes. And look, the PR people, like, you got to know, first of all, that question's coming when you're prepping your guy.
It's literally the only thing you're prepping for.
Here's the phrase you can't use.
And I bet you it was just an accident. It was just a turn of phrase. And the guy's got a lot on his plate. So, I mean, how much does it actually mean?
I think a lot of these folks have been spouting the same BS for so long that they just can't.
They can't turn it off. Yeah.
They can't get out of it. And so, let's just, we'll make a pact and we'll see if we can get the commissioners in on this pact. No more talk of looking one another in the eye. Like, and actually, we can get, I bet Brent Venables will come in on this too, and some of the coaches. We're not going to talk about looking each other in the eye and making a comment and making a pact. We want ink on paper.
That's a commitment right there. You have to sign your marriage license, don't you?
Yes.
To bring it back down to the first segment. Bring it back around. I love my wife very much. I looked her in the eye and said I want to spend the rest of my life with her. I feel that way. It's an agreement. She looked into my eye.
But you got it right. It's at the courthouse, baby.
Yeah, I still wrote it down. There's no bigger form of commitment than ink.
Well, blood. There's blood.
What do you like? Do you think it'd be a bigger commitment to cut the tips of our fingers and do that serial killer thing?
We could become podcast blood brothers.
I'll do that.
Do that the next time I see you.
Yeah, but you have to show me a test that you're clean.
Exactly.
Did you think I wasn't going to say that?
Oh no. We could.
That actually. Have you ever seen them when they depict that in the movies? It's just
yes.
It kind of always freaked me out. I never.
Well, they take the knife and they run it all the way down their palm.
It doesn't have to be that much.
Right. You don't need that much blood. And a lot of times it's like an Old West movie. Like you don't have. You don't have the analgesic creams and whatnot. You don't have the antibacterial stuff to put on there. Antimicrobial.
What do you even do? You just put a leaf around it?
I don't know. But that's gonna heal very quickly, and if it opens back up, it
might get
very infected.
Yeah. Oh God.
Speaking of it, those movies, by the way, Those Last of the Mohicans type movies, all of those. There's a ton of those on demand on Sling TV because this is the Andy Staples Show and Friends.
He
presented by Sling TV. It is college football season, which means you need the unbeatable coverage of Sling TV starting at $35 a month. Sling has all the big names and the biggest channels: ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN3, SEC Network, ACC Network, Fox, Big Ten Network, all for the best price. You can stream on any device, record up to 50 hours with included DVR space, and pause or change your service at any time. Check out sling.com for special offers. Sling, the live TV you love for the price you'll love. Try it today.
You forgot the Longhorn Network, which might be available for
It is on there.
36 more months.
It's on there.
24 more months, maybe.
Before it becomes part of the SEC Network.
They do
Yes.
do it in The Hangover. If you want to come to Vegas with me, and we'll go on the top.
Exactly. Speaking of The Hangover, you saw the Notre Dame uniform reveal for the Shamrocks series.
Yes, I thought the reveal was awesome and hilarious. I thought the uniforms were really bad.
Am
I the only one that didn't like them? I thought they were like, Notre Dame is just such a classy.
I was going to say, their uniform is so good. Yeah. It hurts the eyes when you try to do anything. Like when they did the pinstripe one, when they played at Yankee Stadium, like, no. Please don't try to improve upon perfection.
I mean, I think they would probably be at least in the top 5 of college football uniforms right now. I do love when Notre Dame uses green accents. I think that's really pretty.
You like the green jerseys?
I do, yes.
Okay.
But the like quilt, the dome on there, it's just like, it's kind of tacky.
Mike Golick Jr.'s Ken Jeong impression was pretty spectacular. Marcus Freeman, by the way, I mean, I'm sure he's a great recruiter. We know. We think he's going to be a pretty good coach, but man, he might have missed his calling. The man can act.
Yeah. No, that was funny. Yeah. We could do like a Las Vegas promo if you want.
Well,
why don't we just like find a scene from Swingers and we can reenact that?
Or we should definitely do that. We should
best
like
Las
us
Vegas
driving
vacation.
through Barstow. I think Swingers, because I've got it memorized. I still think the most awkward scene in the history of movies is the Swingers answering machine scene.
No, I'm with you. So are you a Taco Bell person? Like, do you like it?
I don't think I've had Taco Bell. The last time I had Taco Bell was when the Doritos Locos Tacos came out and I wanted to taste them. I probably ate Taco Bell 4 to 5 times a week in high school and college.
So you like it? Have you ever been to Del Taco?
I've put in my 10,000 Taco Bell hours. Yes.
Have you been to Del Taco before?
I have.
I got into a major fight with a bunch of friends in a group text about how I thought Del Taco was just basically Taco Bell and it's not my cup of tea. But the reason why I bring this up is because apparently there's the original Del Taco that my friends always talk about in Barstow.
Oh, in Barstow. Oh, wow.
And apparently they've got like burgers on the menu and like it's like a huge hidden menu where it's like you unlock the best of Del Taco, and I would go there.
We just need to recreate the entire Swingers going to Vegas.
It's the best part of the movie. I thought that the movie went downhill in the last half hour.
Yeah, I'll have the pancakes in the Age of Enlightenment.
Yeah, I'm gonna start calling.
Hang on, Voltaire.
I'm gonna start calling you Double Down.
Oh, wait, I'm Trent.
Yeah, no.
I thought I was gonna be Mikey in this one.
No, wait, no. Yeah, who's the cool one?
Vince Vaughn is Trent.
Yeah, you're Trent.
Oh, I don't get to be Jon Favreau. I don't get to direct Iron Man later.
That's why, but he calls Jon Favreau Double Down, isn't he?
Yes.
So I'm the loser that loses the hand, and
he makes him double down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll be the loser that doubles down and calls girls on the machine, and then you're gonna be like the tall, skinny, handsome guy that everybody likes. That makes me feel better.
Oh,
you can call me Double Down for that movie and that old KFC sandwich.
Do you know how old that movie is now, by the way?
Was it what year did that come? Was it in the 90s at some point?
October 18th, 1996, it was released. It was my freshman year of college. 26 years ago.
I bet you that movie was making its circulation around the dorms. What movie like came out that kind of defined? Was there like a movie that came out that everybody liked at the same time? Like where it kind of like defined your childhood? Was Swingers the answer to that?
Swingers would be that for early college.
Yeah. My early high school days, I think it was American Pie. When that came out, that was like one of the movies that like everybody my age just like remembers.
Well, that summer of comedy, because that's when I interned at the Atlanta newspaper, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. So you had American Pie, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, and Austin Powers 2 all came out that summer. Like, I have not laughed that hard in a movie theater at any other summer.
It's so funny that you bring up those movies because I was just Googling the other day about the reason why they don't make good comedies anymore. Because Chris Vanini told me to somebody.
Yeah, this is a pet peeve of yours.
Yeah,
And
well, I was just like, he told me to look
into the show, so we can definitely go here.
Yeah, and I Googled it, so I'm sure you're probably gonna ask me for my Google history now.
Oh, yes, actually, stop. We're gonna make a theme song for this eventually. We don't have one yet. Ari's Google history is a recurring segment on the show for those who are new. It's a strange and twisted trip into a strange and twisted mind. Ari, what is your Google history at the moment?
All right, let me load up Google real quick.
Not
okay, so I have Notre Dame uniform reveal, because I just did. Why don't they make good comedy movies anymore?
Okay.
Do you need to play the Mega Plier to win the Mega Millions?
Do you?
Why,
I can't remember.
Why did Jif peanut butter get recalled?
Fair.
Because I've been wanting peanut butter. Why?
Not a sponsor, so go for it.
Yeah. Caleb Downs, Bamuli gel. This is actually hilarious.
What is that?
I work out in a garage with a group of people every day. It's like a garage, and there's a bunch of weights in there, and there's a trainer.
That sounds like the start of a horror movie, but go ahead.
It's like really hot in there, but it's a good workout, and there's a bunch of mosquitoes in Texas, and this person that works there brought in this thing called Bamuli gel, which was from Korea, because this person knows somebody who flies to Korea all the time and brings it back for bug bites. And I tried it, and it was amazing. It was unlike anything I've ever explained. Like, all my mosquito bites healed up fast, and it was like they didn't itch. Okay. So I wanted to look up what Bamuli gel was, and I couldn't find it, but the whole package is in Korean. Except 2 English words. Bamuli, Bumooly, and gel.
I don't think Bamuli's English.
But the thing I don't understand is that if you put English on a wrapper that is from a foreign country, that's in another language, then the point of putting English on that wrapper is to explain to English-speaking people what this is.
It's true.
Bamuli gel does not give us any insight whatsoever into what this is, but you should go Google it. It's insane.
So what's it made of? What is it?
I don't even know. I couldn't figure it out. When I type in Bamuli gel into Google, and it just comes up with a bunch of Korean websites. I have no idea what the word Bamuli.
I am sure we've got some listeners who
somebody, if you know what Bamuli is, tell me what it is.
That they can help us here.
Caleb Downs, protein body weight calculator. Like, if I'm lifting weights, how much
protein per day?
How much protein should I eat? Yep. And Jordan Belfort financial scheme explained.
Were you watching Wolf of Wall Street?
Oh, Wolf of Wall Street was on TV, and I think I get the gist of it, but I wanted to understand, especially how, what is it that they were doing that he got arrested for, and how it was so successful. So yeah, because it's my favorite movie of all time. I think it's the best comedy ever made.
Well, why don't they make good comedies anymore? By the way, that
that movie came out in 2010 or something, didn't it?
Wasn't Wolf of Wall Street funded by basically a con man?
I don't know, probably.
I'm reading that book, $1 Billion Whale. I believe he was the guy who...
Wolf of Wall Street came out in 2013. And if you watch Wolf of Wall Street the way it's supposed to be watched, which is as a comedy, it is the funniest movie from start to finish. But when I first watched it, I thought it was a story about Wall Street. And then when you actually know that it's a comedy
movie.
movie.
Jonah Hill talking about his cousin was not meant to be played for laughs?
I know there's certain funny parts in the movie, but the entire movie is a comedy. From start to finish, it is genius. But yes, Jonah Hill has played multiple different types of characters before, and it's not always funny. Like the Moneyball guy wasn't funny. No. But they didn't explain the financial thing in the movie. They kind of graze over it because I don't think they want to bog people down with the nuts and bolts, but I just wanted to have an understanding of what they were doing.
So why don't they make good comedies anymore? What'd you find on that one?
So basically my understanding of it is that they make so much money making the same comic book movies and blockbuster movies. Everybody wants to have the big blockbuster hit that everybody goes and sees. It's an action movie
you
or something.
spend $200 million on it, but it makes $500 million.
Yes, like they want to. That's why they make Spider-Man 3 times a year, because it's the same thing over and over again, and everybody keeps going to it. Whereas it just doesn't make sense to invest money into a high or an expensive comedic actor that isn't ever going to reach the blockbuster numbers that a Star Wars or something like that will.
Right.
So they just don't make them.
The risk is higher, the margin is lower.
Yes, and like everybody on the planet likes Step Brothers, but for whatever reason, it doesn't make as much money as a blockbuster movie because there's no merch.
Well, could you not? I mean, could you not hire Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly to make a movie now? Like, aren't Talladega Nights and Step Brothers enough to know it's going to be funny?
But they don't make enough money for it to be financially viable for them anymore.
Okay.
Which is a shame. And I think the other part of it too is that if you go back and watch Superbad, which is one of the funniest movies ever, there are 19 jokes in that movie that were harmless when it came out that you cannot say anymore. So I think there's a certain level of, paranoia that they're going to make a movie that uses the wrong word and it's just going to be a bunch of backlash and they don't want to go down that road. So it's a shame because the death of the comedy movies that we all love so much, like it's like in 25 years, we will look back at Step Brothers and say that's one of the funniest movies of all time. And I don't think they'll make another one nearly as funny for the rest of each. I would bet money.
Well, I guess we'll just have to watch Step Brothers and Ricky Bobby. We showed the kids Talladega Nights the other day. They were in. They were locked in.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, I get it too. Like Will Ferrell made 25 movies and they're all kind of similar. It's the same shtick. So like after a while you get kind of burnt out by it. But like they're just not going to pay Vince Vaughn to make a breakup type movie anymore because they could be paying that much money to produce something where there's Walmart or there's backpacks in Walmart for it.
Ari, I got it. Forget the homage to Swingers. Shot for shot remake of Swingers starring you and me.
Mm-hmm.
But we make it so cheesy that it's bad, it's good.
That's right. And I think we'd have at least 4,000 people to listen to that. To watch that, So then you have a good like niche base.
Let's monetize that baby.
Yeah. And then instead of going to Vegas, you go to the Ass Bowl.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Heather Graham shows up at the end at the Ass Bowl.
Yeah.
As the sideline reporter.
That's right. There it is. You just nailed it. Yeah. We have a lot of really good ideas. We got to get the Ass Bowl thing going.
Well, listen, everybody says that the number of bowls is going to dwindle. I have my doubts because I see how many people watch the Boca Raton Bowl. There's still money in that particular banana stand.
Yeah.
So
yeah. What you got to do is you got to go Google Jordan Belfort financial scam explained. Do that and then acquire the Ass Bowl.
We got to do it. We got to do it just for the Blazers, Ari.
Maybe one day it'll be if it's ever like $15,000 to acquire a bowl.
I mean, if the current projections hold, I think that's like 2 years from now.
So if that happens, I think we should do it.
And it's the Bahamas Bowl that we're going to buy, right?
Yeah, or the one in Vegas.
I think the one in Vegas is going to be expensive. Here's the deal. And the Bahamas Bowl may be out of our reach as well. So certain ESPN talent like put in their contract, like I get to do this bowl. So when the announcers are way better than you're used to seeing for the teams that are playing,
you got to compensate that. You got to because isn't it usually a MAC team in the Bahamas Bowl?
Yes, MAC versus Conference USA.
Yeah,
but it's like an ESPN A crew because they're like, it's in my contract. I got to do the Bahamas Bowl.
Going to the Bahamas Bowl. Yeah, no, I got to get something in my contract about doing the Bahamas Bowl. I'm contractually obligated to cover it.
It's possible. I know people have done it. They've said, I get to go to the Final Four every year. I get to cover this every year. They've had it included in their contracts. So yes, you and I, including our contracts, our next deal with the Athletic, we must cover the Bahamas Bowl.
Yeah, you got to help me negotiate though.
Oh, I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to the Bahamas too because it sounds to me like the perfect vacation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Bahamas. It's a beach. It's beautiful. It's got great views, and you're staying in a casino. Yeah,
there you
That's
go.
all I need. That's why Britt and I went on vacation.
It's a casino if you're talking about Atlantis, it's a casino with a water park attached.
Britt and I went on to a vacation to Aruba when we were first dating, And man, that was the best vacation I've ever been on. I mean, it was like they had great food. You're in the Caribbean.
This is even closer to the States.
Yeah.
Easy boat trip, easy flight.
I heard it's like $12 for a water bottle there, though, at Atlantis.
Well, they got you. You're on an island. What are you going to do?
I mean, pay it and enjoy yourself.
Exactly.
Get it back at the tables.
Exactly. Ari, we've said it all. We have to do something, though. I promised the folks that we would do this. So for Tuesday, let's answer some 5-star questions. It's been a while. So if you've got a question, leave a 5-star review on the podcast, ask your question, and we will answer it on the show. I love the questions we've gotten. It's incredible how smart you guys are, and you're a lot smarter than we are, and it just makes the show even better. So by all means, 5-star review, ask your question. We'll come back and answer some 5-star questions on Tuesday. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching the Andy Staples Show and Friends, presented by Sling.